You are listening to the What Queens Say podcast.
Welcome to What Queens Say, the podcast that reigns supreme in the realms of entertainment news and politics. Here, we embrace the fun and the crazy that is life, where the crowns of comedy and respectability sit side by side. As we navigate through the ever-changing kingdoms and queendoms of pop culture and political intrigues, I pledge to treat all with reverence and jest, so don't get offended so easily. If this is your first time here, thank you for listening, and if you would like to be part of my court and hear all the latest episodes, be sure to follow and subscribe. So, my esteemed kings and queens, sit upon your thrones, grab your royal goblets, and let the wisdom and whimsy commence.
Hey peasants, this is a What Queens Say podcast.
Welcome back, beloved listeners, to What Queens Say. For new listeners and those who already know, I'm Queen D. I hope this podcast will break barriers, educate the ignorant, and bring peace and understanding to all my listeners. After last week's episode, I feel it's best to keep it calm and cool for this episode. Before I get into the main topic of today's podcast, let's cover some current events. I want to start off with Keke Palmer's fashion choice that created a scandal online. I love me some Keke Palmer. My husband and I watch her when she was on Scream Queens. We love her in Nope, and now we watch her on Password, a show she hosts. She is one of our favorite actresses and comedians. A little backstory on this whole scandal, or drama, I should say. It's not really a scandal. So basically, Keke wore a black bodysuit under a sheer dress to an Usher concert. And I personally think she looked really beautiful. It was a bit risque, but I mean, it is an Usher concert. I personally didn't see anything wrong with the outfit at all. Like, not at all. So I guess her boyfriend, Darius Jackson, had made a tweet. Why is it always Twitter? Anyways, he tweeted about Keke's outfit, and this is what he said. He said, "It's the outfit though. You a mom. Should a supportive boyfriend and baby daddy put your business out there like that? Hell no. No man or woman should air their dirty laundry online, especially Twitter and now Thread." Because Darius put out that tweet, the fans of Keke's have gone on the attack, mostly in regards to a grown woman or mother wearing what she wants. But here's the thing. This was a comment that should have been done privately and of course in a respectful manner. I think a man or woman should be able to dress any way they want, but if you love and respect your partner and know they won't like you wearing something like that in public, then maybe you shouldn't. Not saying you shouldn't wear what you want, but when we are in a partnership, sometimes our own wants and needs need to be pushed to the side. And another thing is on that argument is if your partner likes dressing in a certain way, and before you even had a child with this person and they're just your partner or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and they dress a certain way when you got with them, don't expect them to change how they dress once you're with them. Keke's always dressed like this before she even had her baby and before she even got with this guy. Now back to my original opinion. I didn't see anything wrong with this outfit. Darius should calm down. And the only thing I saw that she was doing wrong here was not wearing enough protection from Usher. IYKTYK. If you know, then you know. Another thing, Darius, you're a dad though. If you hadn't made a tweet shaming your baby's mom, then this wouldn't be news that your son will eventually find when he is older, and it will forever be brought up by media if you and Keke remain together. This will always be thrown in your face. And this goes for all listeners. Don't attack your partner and tweet things about them on the internet, and don't put your dirty laundry on social media. That creates cracks in your relationships, and then the vultures and trash will give their opinions, and then your relationship may never survive. And everyone else, you need to calm down with Keke and Darius. Let them handle their own thing, and then just see what happens with them. And hopefully, everything works out for them and their best and their little baby. Now on to music news. I feel like I talk about her every week, but she is always big news, especially right now. Taylor Swift has finally dropped her Speak Now Taylor version album, or as people call it now, Speak Now TV. She announced back in August of 2019 that she would be remaking all 6 of her albums that she had recorded while under contract with Big Machine Records. Her original masters are all currently owned by Scooter Braun, aka Spider-Boy, who bought Big Machine Records back in June of 2019. So the first Speak Now album is her third studio album, and Speak Now Taylor version is her third studio remake album as well. So we got Fearless, the Taylor version, Red, the Taylor version, and now Speak Now Taylor version. 3 are down, 3 more to go. And rumor has it that 1989 is next based on all the clues and Easter eggs out there in music videos. I hope so too, because as I mentioned before, it is one of my favorites. It will then be followed by Reputation Taylor version or the Taylor Swift album Taylor version, her debut album. I'm not sure in what order though. Like, I'm thinking that since her Taylor Swift album was her first, she will use it as her last. In Reputation, we got the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. But with all like the healing over the years, I especially feel like after Folklore and Evermore, I think that the old Taylor has been brought back, and I think she is finishing it off with her debut album, kind of like as the old Taylor's back to life again and ready to bring back that innocence and love again, but in a more mature way and not naive. I could be overthinking it here. If you haven't heard some of the new Vault songs, I highly suggest you do so. I really like the I Can See You from her Vault, and also the music video is out for that as well, and it has some fun cameos. I won't spoil it just in case you haven't seen it, but I'm sure by now everyone, whoever's listening, has seen it. Another one of her Vault songs is called When Emma Falls in Love. There's like this rumor going around right now that When Emma Falls in Love is about her old friend Emma Stone of Easy A and La La Land fame. It is all speculation at this point, but a lot of the lyrics line up, and during Speak Now, they were very close. Original Speaks Now. I don't know if they're still close. They could be very close still, but I haven't seen them in the public eye together. Who knows? I'm also excited to say that myself and my husband have fought in one of the great wars and were able to secure floor seats to the Eras Tour in Singapore. I still feel like it is all a dream. We talk about it every day and we still just can't believe like we're going to the Eras Tour. I've already started on the ideas for my outfit that I'm going to wear to the concert. If any of my listeners have been to the Eras Tour, what was your favorite part of the tour? What was your favorite song in the tour? I'm very curious to see if she will change her song lineup for the Eras in Asia tour and European tour. Now, on to the matter of contention for today, and that is the D word. I know what you may be thinking, and I want you to get your minds out of the gutters for this one. The D word I'm referring to is dictator. That's right, the dick no one likes. As you all know, the D word has been thrown around in politics. It was widely used towards Trump during his presidential term, and recently it has been thrown out there by Fox News and other conservatives towards Biden. It has also been said by yours truly towards Dion, our gay presidential candidate from Florida. But it does go without saying that calling any president past or present a dictator is a serious allegation that should not be taken lightly. With that being said, I will share my opinion on what a dictator is and why these two are assumed to be modern dictators, but I won't be flat out calling anyone a dictator or telling any of you whom you should believe to be a dictator. You are all adults and make up your own opinions. What we really need to know or understand is how dictators come into power. It is pretty well-known fact that dictators emerge when leaders abuse their power and prioritize their own interests over the well-being and rights of their people. By people, I mean their core party and not all people of their nation. Several factors contribute to the transformation of a leader into a dictator, and some include undermining democratic principles and fostering authoritarian rule. First, a key characteristic of a dictator is their thirst for absolute control. They seek to consolidate power, often by weakening or eliminating political opposition and curtailing civil liberties. By centralizing authority, dictators can manipulate laws and institutions to serve their own agendas, effectively silencing voices of opposition and consolidating power in their hands. Secondly, dictators often exhibit a lack of accountability. They refuse to accept criticism or tolerate negative news, thus surrounding themselves with loyalists who reinforce their authority. This absence of checks and balances enables dictators to act with impunity and make decisions that benefit themselves and their inner circle rather than the broader broader population. Another factor is the erosion of democratic institutions. Dictators undermine the independence of the judiciary, the media, and civil society organizations, thereby limiting the avenues for accountability and oversight. Basically, weakening these pillars of democracy, dictators can further entrench their control and suppress any form of opposition or dissent. As I mentioned in my previous podcast, it's the people we need to watch out for, the ones who are always attacking the media, attacking our education system, attacking organizations that work for the freedoms and rights for all people of the nation. Those are the people we need to watch out for. We've seen it in history time and time again, especially in Germany. That's how it started. They were going after small groups. It started, I believe, with targeting gender reassignment hospitals and abortion hospitals. And then it went from that into going after Jewish people and gay people and black people, and then putting them in the ghettos. And then from there, it went into more and more, and then concentration camps. So those are the things that we need to watch out for. A lot of people think that history will not repeat itself, but history always repeats itself. And right now we're seeing a lot of these signs showing us that history is repeating in itself. And a lot of Americans are like, it can never happen here. But the thing is, it could. And it possibly is happening. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode, was really talk about how serious it is to mention that word, and how serious it is to start really focus on what makes a dictator, and not just say it out there because, oh my goodness, that will scare the conservatives, or oh, it will scare the Democrats and the liberals. Like, it's really important that we look for signs of these dictators. Again, I'm not saying Biden is a dictator, or Trump is a dictator, or was a dictator, or wanting to be a dictator, even Dion, but it is still good to keep an eye on these signs of when rights are being taken away. What is your purpose? What is the end goal here? That's what we need to start looking for. What is their end goal? Anyways, let's continue on. I had talked about how they want to pretty much weaken these pillars of democracy. Another one is they have this, like, a cult of personality often accompanies them through propaganda, manipulation, the creation of a strong public image. Dictators cultivate a sense of reverence and adoration among their followers. This cult of personality fuels the perception that the leader possesses unparalleled wisdom and power, discouraging critical thinking and enabling the leader to maintain control over the masses. Or in some cases, it's with the religious side. In America, for example, the evangelicals, he was sent by God to bring order to America. Bring order to America? You mean like the New World Order? But anyways, lastly, the economic and social inequalities also contribute to the rise of dictators. When a significant portion of the population faces poverty, inequality, or political instability, it creates a fertile ground for a charismatic, predominantly super rich leader to exploit their grievances and offer false promises of stability, security, and prosperity. Dictators exploit these vulnerabilities to gain popular support and also maintain control over the population. We see this in history. The funny thing is, though, during Hitler's time, if I remember correctly, I mean, it's been a while since I read up on the Holocaust in World War II and World War I. But when Hitler came into power, one of the things that was the huge thing was not the inequality that came towards trans, or inequality that came towards Black people, or inequality that came towards the poor, or inequality like in that sense. His inequality was actually darker. It was they want to erase white people. They want to erase Germans. The Jewish people want to take away our businesses and make us poor. You're poor because of the Jewish people, which still is a stigma till this day, that like Jewish people own everything. It's so ridiculous. But again, it's that whole thing. How can we make the most powerful people feel weak? And by the way, I mean powerful people, not in the sense that they are the superior race. I mean, they actually do control almost everything, right? And let's be honest, white people control most of the money in the world, control most of the businesses, even in America, no matter what you're told. White people do own more of the seats. White Christians are the ones in power, mostly in America. That's what happened in Germany, is like these rich, powerful, white, non-Jewish leaders were feeding a lie to the people, Hitler included, that was to scare the crap out of other white people, normally poor, to say, you're going to lose everything and it's not our fault. It's not our bad judgments and choices and our poor leadership skills. It's the fact that, these people, the ones that are actually a minority in the city, they're the cause for all your troubles, not us. It's them, right? Again, going back to it's not us, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them. I do want to mention a small disclaimer really quick though for this sensitive topic. I'm going to keep getting off topic and probably go into my own little rants here, but I'll try not to. But anyways, the term dictator carries a significant weight and definitely should be used cautiously when we discuss anyone political, especially any party. We don't want to attack our neighbors or our friends or our family members for their political beliefs. So while it is tempting to label an individual as a dictator, especially right now, based on our own personal biases, I think it's important to examine the characteristics and actions that define dictator tendencies, and also distinguish between policy disagreements and actual dictator behaviors. For me, my personal thing is dictators take away rights. If that makes sense to you, they don't give rights. They take away rights. That's how I distinguish. So whenever I see these leaders taking away freedoms that should be there for all American people, the land of the free, and I see that there are laws now taking away rights, literally taking away the rights. We didn't have the rights, we got the rights, and then they take away the rights. To me, when someone's taking away rights or taking away your trust in media or taking away your trust in the education system or taking away your trust as a parent, not even parents, you should be trusted with your own kids. Let us tell you how your kids can be. It sounds very, 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 very Nazi propaganda. That's all I gotta say. That's my opinion. Don't come after me. Anyways, so what I'm gonna do shortly here is discuss some of the traits I noticed that former President Donald Trump and our current President Joe Biden have. I really want to point out that this is just based on things that they've done or some of the choices that they made that may come off as being a dictatorship. I personally find it easier to find similarities between dictators and the former president than to our current president, but I think that has to do with more like Biden's more the sleepy Joe president and the fact that he doesn't actually go after any marginalized groups of people. So let's examine the traits that draw these parallels between Trump and Biden and the D word. Let's start off first with Trump. Why do people think he is a dictator? One aspect commonly associated with dictators is the cultivation of a strong cult of personality, like I mentioned earlier. Donald Trump's charismatic and larger-than-life persona, combined with his populist rhetoric, resonates with a significant portion of the population. His ability to tap into the fears and frustrations of his supporters, often bypassing established political norms, bears some resemblance to the tactics employed by dictators to consolidate power. Dictators are often target democratic institutions to centralize power and weaken checks and balances. Trump's repeated attacks on the free press, judiciary, and intelligence agencies raised concerns about his respect for democratic norms. His labeling of unfavorable media coverage as fake news and his dismissal of judicial decisions he disagreed with undermined the credibility of these essential democratic pillars. Dictators seek to amass power by surrounding themselves with loyalists, disregarding expertise and dissenting voices. Trump's tendency to surround himself with individuals who displayed unwavering loyalty, coupled with high turnover rates within his administration, raised questions about his commitment to diverse perspectives and robust decision-making processes. Dictators often infringe upon civil liberties and human rights, citing reasons of national security or law and order. Trump's controversial policies such as the travel ban targeting predominantly Muslim countries and his aggressive stance on immigration were criticized for potentially violating constitutional rights and fueling divisions within society. Now, dictators may exploit executive powers to bypass democratic processes and concentrate authority in their hands. Trump's frequent use of executive orders, sometimes circumventing congressional oversight, raised concerns about potential abuse of power. Critics argue, though, that these actions undermine the democratic principle of checks and balances. So, I mean, take that with what you want. Let's move on to Sleepy Joe and why do some people assume he's also a dictator? One factor contributing to the perception of Joe Biden as a dictator is this intense political polarization in the United States. When policy decisions clash with personal beliefs, some individuals may resort to hyperbolic language, including labeling the opposing leader as a dictator. That's a fact. Joe has called Trump, Dion, and other opponents on the Republican side or conservative side dictators. That's kind of again, it's finger pointing. Joe Biden, like his predecessor, issued a lot of executive orders to implement policy changes. One thing, though, that I noticed with Biden was while the number of the executive orders did spark some concerns because there's quite a lot already, it's important to recognize that the executive orders for both parties is very common and it's used by every president. So I don't think we should judge, Biden or Trump based on executive decisions. It's, again, what is the context of this? Another thing is dictators typically undermine democratic processes and institutions to consolidate power. As mentioned before, we see former presidents and even current politicians right now attacking the education system, attacking the doctors, attacking hospitals, attacking women's rights, attacking LGBT organizations, attacking the media. Again, we're seeing this. It is important to evaluate whether Biden's actions have demonstrated any disregard for those democratic norms. Thus far, Biden has respected the separation of powers. He's appointed individuals with diverse perspectives, and he has expressed a commitment to upholding democratic values. I haven't found anything that would suggest otherwise. I'm not seeing any rights that he is wanting taken away from American citizens. Also, dictators often suppress the freedom of speech and curtail civil liberties. Some critics argue that Biden's stance on certain issues, such as gun control or social media regulations, encroaches on individual liberties. The only thing is he is sharing his stance and not acting on it. When they start acting on it, that's when we need to start worrying. Now, again, I didn't see anything like with the guns issue. Me personally, I think, as an American, we have the right to bear arms. I do feel, though, that there are some crazy people who should not have the right to have a gun. And I think that you should actually be evaluated to be able to own a gun because, let's face it, come on, America. We have some screwed up, head loose people out there with guns. And, gun control, it's important. But again, that's when it gets into acting on our freedom to bear arms. But I do think, felons, you cannot have a gun. That's always been a law. I think the same goes if you've been in a psychiatric hospital, if you're on maybe, and I'm not judging anyone who's on medications, but if you're on schizophrenic medicine, you should not be able to get a gun. So again, it's just a big deal. I think that for crouching on our gun rights, I think it needs to be done in a respectful manner, but I do think some people should not have the right to have guns, and I think that we need to find a better way to fix that issue. So, everyone can still have freedoms, but also we feel safe knowing that person does not have a gun. Plain and simple. But that's a whole other topic of discussion. Anyways, with Biden's stance on gun control and other media regulations, but I find that that's also on the Republican side is controlling social media regulations. But unless the social media is owned by a Republican, such as Elon Musk, then it's a bad thing to go after social media. Also, I mentioned earlier, dictators typically weaken checks and balances to consolidate power. So far, the Biden administration has faced opposition from Congress, the Supreme Court, and media, just like Trump did when he was president. But Biden hasn't actually attacked them, saying that they were lies or fake or should be taken away or destroyed or removed. He didn't go after these powers. So again, I think that the checks and balances for Biden still remain intact. As I mentioned, there is a lot more on Trump just because he's a celebrity. It's probably all for attention. Half the stuff he doesn't even believe in. He allowed for a trans woman to be in the Miss Universe contest back in 2012, and now he's anti-trans. The man just, whatever gets him the attention. Is he a dictator? No, I think he's just a rich, spoiled man-child. And Biden, is he a dictator? No. He's just an old man that needs to take some Metamucil and take a nap and wake up and have some coffee and then only do stuff in the morning when he has energy. I want to go ahead and end the show. I want to end it with one thing, and that is, it is essential for us to uphold the principles of transparency, inclusivity, and the rule of law while fostering a society that values pluralism, free expression, and the protection of human rights. By doing so, we can strive to prevent the emergence of dictators and build a world where leadership is truly accountable to the people it serves. While Donald Trump exhibited certain traits and behaviors that raise concerns about authoritarian tendencies more so than Biden, it is still important to differentiate between strong leadership, populist rhetoric, and genuine dictator tendencies. Now, remove your cult-like beliefs in these men and your party and truly evaluate them as human beings and not men placed in power by God. That is most important. This goes for any politician. They are men, and that is it. They are not spiritual leaders. They don't care about you or even the party that they run in. It is power and status and ego that they care about, and for all of us, fighting each other only feeds them more. We should never take our democracy for granted, but instead continually work to strengthen its foundation. Remember, by fostering open dialogue and embracing diverse perspectives, we can collectively strive to uphold democratic principles and prevent the erosion of democratic norms. As engaged citizens, it is crucial to critically evaluate leaders' actions, hold them accountable, and actively participate in democratic processes to safeguard the values and institutions of our society. And that, kings and queens, concludes the episode of What Queens Say. Remember, governors do a lot more damage to the people of America than the sitting president. Stay woke, stay informed, question authority, and vote. That includes local, state, and nationwide. Until next time, may the crowns of laughter and empathy forever adorn your regal heads. The royal court is dismissed.
The Rear View.